With Dante Moore deciding to return to Oregon for 2026, who becomes the new quarterback 2 in this draft class? Is it Trinidad Chamblas from Ole Miss, or is it Alabama's Tai Simpson? What's going on, draft fans? It's your boy DT back with episode 8 of Draft Talk with DT, another live format. Appreciate everybody for tuning in the last 2 weeks as we went over the tape on Tai Simpson and Trinidad Chamblas. Now today we have the tale of the tape, Trinidad versus Tai. Who is quarterback 2? Are either of them worth taking in the first round, or should they be more regarded as a day 2 prospect this year? Obviously, everybody knows with Dante Moore going back to school, it leaves the door wide open for quarterback 2. A lot of talk, even before Dante Moore went back to school, that maybe Tai Simpson is already quarterback 2. I've watched at least 4 games of Tai Simpson, 2 in the regular season and both of his playoff games against Oklahoma and Indiana. I've done the tape study. I have all the traits. So we break it down into 10 traits, or at least I do: arm strength, size, pocket presence, escapability, mobility, accuracy, poise, mechanics and release, anticipation, and decision-making. And then obviously the other ones you can look at are football IQ and leadership, but leadership is harder to test just from watching all 22. So we'll start with Tai Simpson first. We'll give the case for him, and then we'll give the case for Trinidad Chamblas, and then we'll stack them up trait by trait and see what the final tape grade is and where I think they should go in the draft. With that, I will share my screen, and as you see, I come prepared with the slideshows. Tai Simpson, he is a three-year player at Alabama, a 1-year starter after being a 5-star recruit, 6'2", 208-pound junior, 15 games started, all in 2025. He sat behind Jalen Milroe for 2 seasons. Jalen Milroe now the backup in Seattle to Sam Darnold. In 2025, Tai Simpson had 64.5% completions, 3,567 yards, 28 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and added 2 rushing touchdowns. So a 30-5 total touchdown to interception ratio. Very good for Tai Simpson. He did have 7 fumbles, 6 of which were lost on the season. So that is a bit of a concern, right? 6 fumbles and 5 interceptions totals to 11 giveaways, we'll call them. So 30 touchdowns to 11 giveaways. It's a little bit worse of a ratio, obviously, and I think the fumbles is more of a concern than the interceptions. When looking at him specifically on film, the traits that I noticed that stuck out to me were the arm strength. I think he can throw it over 60 yards in the air, no problem. He has poise in the pocket. He's really able to feel the pressure. He doesn't need to see the rushers, right, coming off the left or the right side, obviously the left side being his blind side. There are so many times he gets to the back of his drop and he just seamlessly dips his right shoulder, steps up a step, and just launches it. And more often than not, it's going to be dropped by Alabama, and we'll get into some of those stats. But he does have the pocket presence and awareness, that poise in the pocket, that he can feel the pressure. He doesn't necessarily need to see the pressure. And then I think another one of his strengths is escapability. And that's not to say that he's going to get out and beat you with his legs every single time. He's not like a Lamar Jackson or even like a Jalen Hurts or Justin Fields type of runner by any means. But is he like Duke in early seasons of NFL career Daniel Jones, where he can get out of the pocket and, hit you for 8 to 25 yards at a clip and really hurt a defense? I think that's more what I'm talking about with Tai Simpson in terms of his escapability, but it does look like he's very comfortable back there as a passer and when it breaks down and needs to be a runner. The 2 areas where I said he needs work is his deep ball accuracy. He can lay it out there, and sometimes it's not always in the right spot for his guy. And sometimes, like I said, it's his receivers as well making a mistake. But I do think when it goes deeper in terms of accuracy, it starts to wane a little bit with Tai. And then obviously time on task. 15 starts, in college. You would have to assume that, you would like to see that number almost doubled entering the NFL. And that's why a big reason for Dante Moore's decision to go back is to bank more starts. I believe he has 20 or 21. So now, obviously, if he plays the full season for Oregon, he'll be over that 30 game threshold, but Tai has 15 games. So really, an outlier, so to speak, from a draft perspective. So time on task was definitely a needs work category for me. Now, when it comes to Trinidad Chamblas, actually, first, let's do the nerd stats on Tai Simpson before we get into Trinidad. The thing that I did like about both of these passers against pressure and while being blitzed, these guys pretty much did very well. So on 30% of his dropbacks, Tai Simpson faced pressure. He had a sub 50% completion percentage at 48.7%, and he took 29 sacks, which obviously is a pretty abysmal number. But when you look at it versus the blitz, over half of the dropbacks, he was facing the blitz 55.5% of the time, over 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. So when he's facing the blitz, he's able to identify it enough to get the ball out of his hands quickly and on time to his receivers. So I do think the way that he handled the blitz was really well. Now, the negative, and it's not really a negative on Tai, and this is part of the reason why you can make the case for him being a first-round pick. Alabama had 32 drops per PFF. 30 of them came when Tai Simpson was throwing the football. They also had a sub 50% contested catch opportunity rate, 28 out of 57 opportunities. So 49.1% of the contested catch opportunities, his teammates were not catching the ball. Just to compare to Indiana, because that is the number one team in the country right now, Indiana as a team had 8 drops, and they had a 56.9% completion or a contested catch rate percentage. So they were 41 of 72 opportunities. So they were almost eight percentage points better than Alabama, and they had 1/5 of the drops. So it's absolutely crazy the difference between a team like Indiana and Alabama, because you would think in most normal years of college football, those trends would be reversed for sure. So Tai Simpson definitely suffered a case of the dropsies. If you want to go one step further, his best receiver on paper, Ryan Williams, he accounted for 10 drops. If you want to say Elijah Surratt is Fernando Mendoza's number one target, I would agree with that. He only had 3 drops. So your number one guy is really letting you down if you're Tai Simpson in this instance. So I love the way that he plays against the blitz. I love the presence in the pocket to just step up and get out, beat you with his legs when he needs to, but also the feel for the pocket to move left, right, up. He's not afraid to move up in the pocket when the edges start collapsing on him. He doesn't just bail out of the pocket. I feel like even Fernando Mendoza, when the pocket starts getting to him and the pressure is mounting, he doesn't necessarily see the exit strategy as well, or the feel for the pocket as well as Tai Simpson. So there is a trait right there that I think Tai Simpson does better than Fernando Mendoza. Obviously, then you talk about the lack of supporting cast. That is another positive, in my opinion, for Tai Simpson to be able to do all this with all of this lack of support. So I do think Tai Simpson should be in regards for a first-round pick. Now, Trinidad Chamblas, who he's matching up against today, he's a redshirt senior. He comes from Ferris State. He played there for, I guess it was 4 seasons total he was at Ferris State, although there is, the discrepancy about the 2022 season. Did he have tonsillitis when he was a redshirt? Is he able to get that 6th year, which he's still fighting for? I don't know if there's ever been a final determination, and the deadline is passed for players to declare or not. So Trinidad Chamblas might be caught in a really bad situation right now, or he has a special exemption that allows him extra time because of this lawsuit. So if he wins, he's going back to school, and this is all a moot point. But for right now, he's in the discussion as, one of these top quarterbacks in the class. So Ferris State for 4 years, he was a 1-year starter there, and they won the championship in 2024. I believe it was 15 starts in that season. He went for 26 touchdowns and 25 rushing touchdowns in his entire career there at Ferris State. So was at 51 total touchdowns at Ferris State over 4 years, and most of that was in that latter season in 2024 when they won the championship. Transfers over. He's a 0-star recruit. He transfers over to Ole Miss. This year, he completed 66.1% of his passes, 3,937 yards, 22 touchdowns, only 3 picks, and he added 527 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground. So 30 touchdowns for him to 3 interceptions. I believe he had a couple fumbles. I believe it was less than 5. So technically less giveaways on the same amount of touchdowns total as Tai Simpson. And he also led the SEC in passing yards at 3,937. When I watched the film on Chambliss, the games that I did watch were his college football playoffs against Georgia and Miami. So top competition in the SEC and a national championship competitor in the Miami Hurricanes. So you're watching top competition with those games with Chambliss. I thought his strengths were his off-platform throws. Because of his height, only 6 foot, 200 pounds. He does have to get out on the move a lot. He does, a lot of tippy-toe work in the backfield as a quarterback. He can't really see over his line all the time. I had a film person who I respect say that he's throwing to spots instead of throwing to a receiver who is open necessarily. So I guess that's a lot more of like predicting and anticipation, but also at the same time, can you get away with throwing to spots in the NFL? I'm not necessarily sure, but we've seen, quarterbacks who are shorter in stature obviously have some success. Obviously, Drew Brees would be the highest version of that, but then there's also lower examples like Kyler Murray, who's kind of flaming out with the Cardinals. Obviously, his athleticism matches more of a Chambliss than Drew Brees' inability to be mobile, but you get the point. Shorter quarterbacks don't always have the upper hand when it comes to being a passer at the NFL, at the NFL level, excuse me. So he did lead the SEC in passing yards. Off-platform throws were a big bulk of that, getting him out on the run, play action, bootlegs, things like that. Mobility and escapability, I think those are his calling cards. He can beat you to the edge. If you're a second-level defender, if you're a safety who takes a bad angle, he can really burn you to the edge and create explosives with his legs. So the mobility and escapability for him is really fun to watch. But again, is it because he can't see over the line to see the guys open and he has to bail? A lot of times is he just under pressure and has to bail? Either way, it is fun to watch when he's balling. I think it was the go-ahead touchdown against Miami. Obviously, they lost that game to the Hurricanes in the playoffs, but he led that touchdown drive, and he was throwing some really nice passes. But earlier in the game, it felt like he was scrambling when he needed to and beating them with his legs. So he can do it both ways. I just don't know if the consistency level is there for Trinidad Chamblas. Some of the nerd stats before we get into the grading system. When he faced pressure on 22.8% of his snaps, he had only 1 touchdown and 14 sacks. But when he had a clean pocket, he had 21 touchdowns and 0 sacks. So obviously quarterbacks under pressure perform worse, right? We just read the stats with Tai Simpson. Same thing. When a quarterback is pressured, he obviously is going to perform worse. But how worse in a vacuum, so to speak, is that? And I feel like when you put the context to not having turnovers and turnover-worthy plays against pressure, especially against the blitz, which we'll get into right now, 14 touchdowns and 0 picks against the blitz for Trinidad Chamblas. So Tai Simpson was 13-2. Trinidad Chamblas is 14-0 when it comes to facing the blitz. And he was facing blitz at 45% of his dropbacks. So Tai Simpson a little bit more at 55%, but they handled it well in both respects. And I think that is one of the easiest things to look at for me on film. Okay, did he perform well under pressure? Did he do well against the blitz? Can those things stand up against NFL talent, right? Because the blitz is going to get home like 0.3 of a second faster. Everybody's going to beat their blocks a little bit faster. Obviously, you have better blockers in front of you, or you hope to at least, but you get the point. When you're up at the NFL level, those things to me are the things that translate the most on film that the nerd stats can back up for me. So against pressure, I really like him. And obviously, as a runner, I really like him. Now, the needs work is the anticipation. And like I said, if he's throwing to spots, can you consider that anticipation? Sure. If he knows in the first window he's got a slant route because of the coverage pre-snap, then that's more anticipation. But if he just can't see and he's just kind of chucking it to a spot on like a deep or intermediate out route, maybe it's not so much anticipation. Maybe it's a little bit of both. I did want to see a little bit more anticipation on film. I saw a couple throws that I liked. One was actually dropped up the middle by his tight end, but anticipation is definitely one of the areas where I think I want to see more from Chambliss. Now, accuracy, I don't want to just say he's an inaccurate passer, but because of the off-platform throws that he has to make a lot, leads to some, fundamental technique issues and some footwork issues, some mechanical issues that lead to accuracy issues. So I feel like when you're more of a drop back passer like Tai Simpson, and you can stand in the pocket and you're not necessarily looking to get out of the pocket a ton, you can have better accuracy from that regard. But the fact that Trinidad Chamblas throws it so nicely on the run, you can hone in on the accuracy, right? You change some things mechanically with his release or his footwork. You make sure he's not jumping off both feet while he throws, and maybe he just keeps one foot on the ground. So I'm definitely intrigued by Trinidad Chamblas, but anticipation and accuracy are two of the things that I think translate better than mobility and off-platform throws at the NFL level. So it is a bit of a concern here for Chambliss. Now, before we get into the grading system and how we stack them up, the true tail of the tape, I am going to go to the chat. I see a bunch of you guys in here. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. As always, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. If you have a comment and you definitely don't want me to miss it, consider super chatting it because I will miss the comments for sure. I see Tank for Ty is in here. I appreciate you. Bill M, what's up, man? He says Tankathon has the Jets taking Trinidad at 103. Okay, yeah, so we'll get into it, but I feel like that's not a terrible range. Like if that's the floor for Trinidad, I wouldn't be so surprised by that whatsoever, honestly. Kyle Clifton in the house. He says Simpson over TC, and it's not even close. Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it in the next slide or two, but there's a debate. There's a debate out there, and I feel like it just needs to be talked about. Gruden really likes him, says Matthias. I don't know if that's Chambliss or Tai Simpson that you're talking about. I would assume Gruden has some love for both of them. Keep It Simple says, who's got the higher ceiling, Simpson or Mendoza? Whew, that's tough. I mean, what Mendoza does in his offense is like truly like it's good. Don't get me wrong. Like what he's doing in Curt Cignetti's offense, like the answers are just there for him, right? He doesn't really need to think a lot. And that's not a bad thing against him, right? I don't want that to come off as a negative, but it feels like everything is predetermined from a coaching standpoint that like he really doesn't have to think a lot and he's able to play so freely in that system. And they mix in enough of the zone reads and the RPO style stuff to keep defenses honest. So I really like Mendoza, but I like his floor. So I would say right now, Tai Simpson has the higher ceiling. Perhaps if Tai Simpson went back a year like Dante Moore and he had 30 starts coming out of college, maybe, he would be considered over Fernando Mendoza in this draft class, but that's just not the case. So Fernando kind of proved a proof of concept in California, and then he transferred over to Indiana this year, and he continued proving that concept and dominated at Indiana. So I would say right now Tai Simpson has the higher ceiling. But yeah, Mendoza, I mean, I think he has the highest floor of all the quarterbacks, and that's kind of what makes him the favorite to go 1-1 in 2026. Ty, yeah, I can't measure leadership in terms of a tape grade, but everything I've researched, honestly, about both quarterbacks, like the way Trinidad handled the whole Lane Kiffin thing, right? He's got a commercial where he's like pretending to transfer to a new cell phone carrier, and everybody's like, what do you think I'm talking about? It's like he's buying into the fact that he didn't transfer to LSU and take like the quote easy way out with Lane Kiffin, and he handled his business well. He's handling his business well throughout the playoff process, and they obviously lost, but I think he's conducted himself well. But the leadership, it's definitely evident in both these guys. I don't think it's shown publicly as much as like a Fernando Mendoza, obviously, because he's getting all the attention as the Heisman. Their team's number one. They're in the Natty. So like there's a lot to say about both of these guys' leaderships as well. It's a good point. Keep it simple. He's listed at 6 foot on their school website. I don't necessarily trust school websites, but that's why you see, if I'll pull the slide back up in a second, it says 6 foot with an E on it, which means estimated. So eventually in this process, a couple weeks in the Senior Bowl and Shrine Bowl, when those measurements come out, those will be 6 foot with a V and 220 with a V or whatever. That'll be a verified measurement. So it's right now it's estimated 6 foot, 200 pounds. That's a good point. Russell Wilson is another under 6 foot quarterback that made it. Yep, he was a 3rd round pick, so that's good. I like that callback. Bill says Tai going first round, but not top 5. Chambliss, if drafted, will be way later on, in my opinion. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the desperation of teams to get a quarterback, it's just it's tough, right? If the Jets were desperate enough, would they want to do something at 2? Like, I don't think so, but there's merit to it with the draft process. People convince themselves of the weirdest things during the draft. Off topic, but Yankee fan says Reese or Bailey. I'm torn on these two guys. I would say Bain over both of them, truthfully. Bailey has, dude, his first step explosiveness is crazy. It's fun to watch him, and you can really make a case for either of these players. I guess I would lean Bailey because Reese is like not necessarily scheme specific, and you'd have to get really creative with how you use Reese. And I would rather just take a guy at 2 that, okay, we know what you're going to do on third down for sure, but like we know what you're going to do on first and second down. Arvell Reese, it could be like more of a, I don't want to say Micah Parsons is a bad thing, right? But like they didn't necessarily use Micah Parsons in the right ways the first couple seasons, and then all of a sudden he moved around everywhere and got to be who he is. So I don't know. Arvell Reese, to me, it would be a fine pick, but I guess I would lean Bailey here. Let's see what else we got. Why doesn't Carson Beck come up in quarterback combos? I mean, I'm not a big fan of Carson Beck, truthfully. I'll watch the tape after the playoffs are done, and I'm waiting to watch the final tape on Fernando Mendoza, but I'm not really interested in Carson Beck, to be honest. And maybe I'm completely wrong, but he's like a day 3 guy to me. Michael, we're getting there, but I'll make the case for all opportunities for both these guys in a second. Tai Simpson lost more games at Alabama than any quarterback in recent memory. He also fumbles excessively. Is that concerning? Yeah, I said the fumbles is concerning. 7 fumbles, 6 lost fumbles. That's definitely concerning. He does hold on to the ball well in terms of like not throwing the ball into harm's way, but definitely the fumbles is a concern. Cue the hand size narrative, right? That was the whole thing with Joe Burrow. He was never going to be able to hold on to the football. All right, back into it. Here we have my grading system. It's not, there's no special formula. It's just 1 through 100 broken into certain categories. Obviously, you have your premier guys in the ice blue, we'll call it, the top 10 overall. That's a 90 to 100. Not many prospects get this. I don't know how. I've done this since 2019, not with the same grading system, and I don't think anybody's ever gotten higher than a 90 flat in my system. So top 10 overall is a really hard grade to give. And that's not saying that they can't go top 10. That's just saying that, are they a surefire top 10 in the aggregate mean of their traits? And not many people are. First round, which is 85 to 89.9. Those are your first round grades. Second, obviously, is 80 to 84, and then so on all the way down. I've never really graded anybody lower than a 5th round grade, but I've had some 5th round, quoted talents, right? Some 7.0s in the mix. So I do think that's important. I don't watch enough of the guys. I don't go 150, 175 players deep. I usually just go like the top 60 I really try to look at. And then after that, I just go based on positions of like hot spots for the New York Jets specifically. So that's the grading system. It's really nothing special. There's no proprietary system or formula that I use. It's just how I separate my grades year over year. Now, we'll get into the tail of the tape, but like I said, I'll go over the list of traits one more time. They are arm strength, size, pocket presence, escapability, mobility, accuracy, poise, mechanic release, anticipation, decision-making. And then obviously the more intangible things like football, IQ, and leadership. Here is the tail of the tape. Right now, as you can see down the bottom, we have the final tape grade. And yes, it is really no secret. Tai Simpson is graded out higher than Trinidad Chamblas for me. I'll explain in a second, but we do have a super chat, $5 super chat from our guy Daniel. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. DT, I missed the first 20 minutes because of work meetings. Give me the Spark Notes quick. Happy Friday. Also, dude, get a beer on me. I appreciate you, Daniel. Spark Notes is, I gave the case for each of them. I like them both. Now we're going to get into the actual meat of why I like each in the spots they are. So you didn't miss a ton in the first 20, but I would go back and watch because I just give some nerd stats about why each would be presented as a potential first-round pick. But I appreciate you, Daniel. Happy Friday. Beers all around. I am not a drinker, but I will. This is going to go to the fund for sure. All right, back to the tape. So we'll look at arm strength, size, and pocket presence first. I think Tai Simpson has the best arm strength in the entire class. Size, obviously, Tai Simpson is larger at 6'2", 208 pounds than 6 foot, 200 pounds. So I use the historical grades of other players like Jalen Milroe, Will Howard, Jackson Dart, Shadur Sanders, Cam Ward from last year. How did I grade their size? And then I went according to that. So Trinidad Chamblas comes in at an 8. Tai Simpson comes in at an 8.5. Pocket presence, I think Tai Simpson has a first-round grade on pocket presence in 8.5. Like I said, the way he feels the pressure is really special. Trinidad Chamblas, I think he does have good pocket presence. I just don't think it's as good. So I gave him an 8.0. And I think when you combine in the next couple categories, it makes more sense for Chambliss in totality. Let's see. We have a question from Boomtown that is relevant at this exact second. Dylan, does your system take into account the perceived weakness of this year's draft compared to other years? For example, a QB may be selected higher based on less blue chip prospects. No. So the tape grade will not be affected by any of those factors. Injuries don't really affect the tape grade either, right? Like there's no like availability trait that I watch on tape or anything like that. So no, those things do not technically factor in. But when I'm giving where I would take them in the draft, yes, that is all going to play a factor, because is it a 1 quarterback draft? Is it a 3 quarterback draft? Is next year the 13 quarterback draft? And yes, that absolutely plays a factor. So I appreciate you, Boomtown, for tuning in. And that's a great question, because there is less blue chip talent this year. Daniel with another $2. He says, need a little bit more for the gardening fund. LOL. Yeah. Unfortunately, gardening is more expensive than distilling my own beer. Is that what the word is? Is that what those IPA geeks do in their basement? Is that what they call it? Yeah, gardening is a little bit more expensive, but I appreciate it nonetheless, Daniel. Thank you so much. All right, so now back to the tape. 8.5 mobility grade for Trinidad Chamblas. Obviously, like I said, he has first-round talent in terms of mobility and escapability. So he gets first-round grades in both those categories. Whereas Tai Simpson, he just gets an 8. So I'm not going to dock him all the way down to a third-round grade with his mobility, because you watch it. He only had, I think it was 97 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. But in college, your rushing yards are factored in because of sacks. So how many sack yards did he lose? I think it was over 200. So now you're looking at, potentially 300 yards on the ground. I think that's the math that would even that out. So Tai Simpson definitely gives you a little bit of juice with his legs for sure. So I can't kill him a ton for his mobility and escapability. Now, accuracy, I have Tai Simpson as an 8. Trinidad is a 7.5. So they're not necessarily first-round accuracy quarterback types. Like I had Cam Ward as an 8.5 in terms of accuracy. I thought he was, top of the top in his class. I even gave Jackson Dart, I think, an 8.0 in terms of accuracy. So that's how you could compare that to Tai Simpson. Poise in the pocket, though, Tai Simpson gets the bump here, 8.5 to Chambliss's 7.5. I feel like Chambliss uses his legs and his escapability and mobility to avoid sacks, but Tai Simpson, again, he just feels the pocket way better than most quarterbacks in this entire class. So I really like the poise from him there. Mechanics and release, it's probably because he's a coach's son, but Tai Simpson gets the nod here, 8.5. Trinidad Chamblas has some wonky footwork, some wonky releases. He underthrew a pass on a corner route that I really just didn't like. He kind of like hopped into it, and it really really put me off to some of the footwork I saw. So mechanics and release, go to Tai Simpson. Anticipation, I talked about Chambliss needing more of that. So he gets a 7.5. Tai Simpson didn't have it a ton. It's not littered all over his tape. Like Fernando Mendoza has the best anticipation in this class because pre-snap, he knows exactly what he's supposed to do. Okay, if it's middle field closed, I'm looking to the left. If it's middle field open, I'm looking to the right. And I know where I'm going first, second read. He can anticipate a lot better than I think Tai and Chambliss can. So Tai gets a second round 8.0 for anticipation. Now, decision-making, I gave this to Tai as well. First round grade, 8.5. I don't see a ton of mistakes made on film because Tai Simpson is staring down his receivers and throwing to the wrong spots, throwing on the wrong shoulder. A lot of RPO misses, right? How maybe Trinidad Chamblas, he should have handed a ball off on a play instead of keeping it on a zone read option. So those all factor into decision-making. So maybe you weight that a little heavier on a guy like Trinidad Chamblas, who a lot of his decision-making comes with his legs as well. So you have to factor that in. Whereas Tai Simpson, a lot of the decision-making is more just passing oriented. So 8.5 for Tai and a 7.5 for Chambliss. That brings the total grade for Tai Simpson an 83.0. So if we go back to the original grading sheet, an 83.0 puts him easily in the middle to high end of the second round in terms of grade. And Trinidad Chambliss, 78.5, that would put him in the higher tier of the third round grade. So you can tell that 4.5 point difference for me is the difference in second to third round grade. Now, we'll get into Boomtown's question from earlier in just 1 second. We do have a $5 super chat from the big fella. I appreciate you, man. Belly's on the bed. $5 from the big fella. He says, got to disagree with the poise number for Chambliss. Chambliss is clutch. Add this to your garden or jet fuels. Oh gosh, it's not going to the jet fuel fund, but certainly the gardening. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, big fella. Yeah, no, I guess that does make a lot of sense when in terms of clutch. That is a good way to frame poise as well. That is a definite factor in it. And you do see him with some big touchdown drives. I think it was both Georgia and Miami. He had some clutch fourth quarter drives. So no, that definitely plays into it. And I think that's fair. So if you wanted to bump him up to an 8, I don't think that is unreasonable for those aspects, for sure. That's a really good point. But now to Boomtown's question, if this factors in the weight of the quarterback class, this grade does not. Tai Simpson is a high-end second, and Trinidad is a high-end third. So if you're talking about range of picks, right, top 40, top 45 for Tai Simpson, right, in that Tyler Shuck type of range, and then Trinidad Chambliss, I don't want to say he's all the way down at 150 where like a Spencer Rattler went, but is he more of like a Dylan Gabriel? I think he was 84 in the draft to the Cleveland Browns this past year in the third round. So that's kind of the realm that I think that these guys are floating in. Tai Simpson in the Shuck range in terms of where I would want him to be drafted if my grades could perfectly predict the NFL draft. Now, there's not 32 first-round picks in the NFL draft. I don't remember how many is the most first-round grades I've given in a class before, but the average is about 12 to 18. This year, I would say we're trending much closer to that 12 side of the first-round grades in this class. So that means less blue-chip talent as well. Second-round grades are going to go in the first round. That is a tale as old as time in the NFL draft, right? Even if you had 16 first-round grades, we'll go right in the middle, 16 first-round grades, 16 picks aren't getting a first-round player then based on that grading report. So you look at all the ESPN and NFL guys, that's about the range that they have this class. It's about 12, maybe 14 first-round grades. The Jets are holding number 2, so you know they're going to get a first-round pick or first-round player based on their grades there. Is 16 a definite that they're going to get a blue-chip first-round grade talent? Probably not, right? It's not always a guaranteed science. So this definitely plays into it with Tai and Trinidad, where I can see Trinidad being in the Tyler Shuck range, right? In that 40 to 45 pick range in the second round. The Jets hold 33. if, for some chance Tai Simpson ends up on the Jets in the first round, wherever you guys want to pick him, and we'll go there next. If they end up with Tai Simpson and they say, hey, 33 is a really hot pick, there's 4 teams calling us, and one of the 4 teams wants Trinidad Chamblas, you're going to get a lot more draft capital back for that specific pick, knowing that it's a quarterback. So Trinidad's range, because of the desperation and some of the teams that are picking here, could be early second round to like 45, right? And that's way off from where I just said with Dillon Gabriel being a third-round pick of the Browns last year. Now, as it pertains to Tai Simpson, that's the interesting one. Is his range Bo Nix at 12? Is his range Kenny Pickett at like 18 to 20? Is his range Cam Ward or Zach Wilson at 1 or 2 overall? That's going to be the interesting part with Tai Simpson. There are certainly traits that I love about Tai Simpson where I would say, yeah, that makes sense. You can justify Tai Simpson being the pick here. Obviously, I would go as high as number 2 with Tai Simpson. I'm being completely honest and transparent in that take. I would consider it at 2. If you are not completely sold on one of the edge guys, one of the wide receivers, any of those guys at the top of the draft, you can convince me on Tai Simpson based on a couple traits. Do I think it's a reach? Probably. Do I think it's justifiable if he hits and he becomes the top half of the league passer in his rookie year, or in his rookie contract, excuse me? Yeah, absolutely. I would totally be down with that. The development plan has to be in place. You have to make sure he is quarterback 2, if not quarterback 3 entering the year, because I don't want him to just be thrown out to the wolves as a first week starter, right? And I don't want it to be Woody Johnson's shiny new toy that just has to see the field so he can justify the price increase on tickets, right? That's not what we're doing here. We're trying to protect Tai from himself at the same time because he needs some maturation at the NFL level. So with the plan in place, if you didn't love the blue chippers, you can justify Tai Simpson at 2, 100% in my opinion. I would actually applaud the pick. Now, do you get cute? Do you try to drum up fake interest in Tai Simpson and say, hey, Arizona, we really like Tai, but if you want him, we're willing to flip with you. We'll go down to 3 and we'll take some extra draft capital to make that work because we have another quarterback in mind later on that we're going to take. Maybe not Chambliss, but somebody else. Or you call Cleveland, who's sitting at 6, and say, hey, not sure if your new head coach is in love with Shedeur Sanders or not, but here's number 2. If you want to come up and take Tai Simpson, we really like him and we'll just stick and pick if not. Obviously, if they call your bluff, if you don't love him, you probably don't want to force that pick if you're the Jets. But again, you can justify taking him at 2. I would like to take him at 16, but there's no guarantee that he's going to be there. I don't think the coverage of Tai Simpson will be the same on draft day. If he goes at 2 to the Jets or if he goes at like 6 to the Browns, it's going to look a lot different. But imagine if he goes 13 to the Rams with the Falcons' extra first-round pick that they got last year in the trade. Everybody will be like, this is a great pick. Tai Simpson's going to be a Hall of Famer under Sean McVay. So, like, I get it. The Jets don't have Sean McVay, no duh. But if they're going to take him and make it work, you have to trust that the Jets can at least do something, right? Do a thing and make it so that, Tai Simpson doesn't crumble and become Zach Wilson 2.0 in your franchise. So I would say the range comfortable for Tai Simpson is 6 to 16. That's where I would feel most comfortable with. If you were able to, trade down and get Tai Simpson at 6, say somebody comes up for an edge rusher, which I don't think is possible. But if Cleveland wants to jump Tennessee and the Giants to get a wide receiver, would they come all the way up to 2? Maybe, maybe not. But again, I don't know if I love Tai Simpson at 2. I justify it. I would applaud it. I would probably take a Reuben Bain or a David Bailey over Tai Simpson, but that is where the conversation needs to start, is number 2 with Tai Simpson. And for the people that absolutely hate that idea, sound off in the comments. I'm sure there's going to be people that disagree with that, but I think most comfortably it's 6 to 16. You're not getting him in the late first. I know Dane Brugler had him going 21 to the Steelers. I feel like the Jets passing on him twice is very, very unlikely. So maybe the Jets continue to be dumb, and they pass up on the opportunity to take a franchise guy twice in this draft with their 2 first-round picks. With that, we will open it up to the comments. 150 you guys in the room. I really appreciate it. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. When I started the stream, we were 25 subs away from 1,400. Thank you all for every single sub that we've gotten since I started this in May. This has been incredible growth. I think I did the math. It's like 170 new subscribers to the channel every month. So that is all you guys, making this platform grow organically. And I love every minute of it. This has been a lot of fun. I'm trying to do more live shows. And now that I'm back at work, I have more of a schedule in my head of how I want to do some of these live shows. This is also, and I'm 40 minutes in, so you guys are getting the lead completely buried. This is the first of 2 live shows that you're getting on this channel today. We have a nice surprise, not a surprise. I mentioned it earlier on the channel, but I was going to do a pre-recorded with our guy Dom C about all the Senior Bowl things, offense, defense, everything in between, because we're both going to be there. Me, him, and Jake are actually sharing an Airbnb in just 2 short weeks. So we're going to have Dom C on tonight at 8 o'clock. We're going to go live for a little over an hour. We're going to talk about offense for the first 20, 25 minutes. We're going to talk about defense for about 20, 25 minutes as well. We'll take some questions in between, so certainly be there for that. I'm trying to upload that one to the Believe in Jets format. So if it sounds like I'm not talking to you guys in that live stream, I promise you I am. I just have to do it more formatted for the audio only side of things. So we will take your super chats and questions in the middle between the offense and the defense. So we will certainly have you guys be part of that show later on. But I'm really excited to have Dom on tonight. He said we have over an hour with him. He's got nothing going on. So really appreciative of Dom. Yes, Boomtown, 2 shows. Absolutely. We're taking a page out of the old Jake Asman playbook. 2 shows tonight. Whoa, Luis Cordova, $20 super chat. Here's a contribution to your gardening hobby. Badass work, by the way. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. $20. Wow. That's incredible. Like I said, you guys are more than generous with these super chats. I absolutely can't say enough how much I appreciate it. I never would have thought a year ago, and I started this channel, I had thoughts about starting it in like March or April. So we're coming up on the year mark of like when I really put the plan in place to start my own channel. Never would I have thought that this quickly we would have grown to the point where I'm getting super chats. So thank you all so much. It's incredible to see. And we're on our way. 1,400 right around the corner, and then 2,000 subs. I'm trying to figure out a way to, give something back to the community at 2,000 subs, and we will see. Indeed, no, there's no truth to that. You would have to do things in order to. There's a cause and effect here, right? The effect would be that, but no, there's no cause to justify that effect. I promise. Daniel says, get BJF there tonight. We know Kevin isn't doing anything. Kev's a busy man. I'm sure he has all of his normal work duties, his normal life duties. He's got a schedule that he's got to maintain. But I would love to get Kev on more. Obviously, our Monday shows are great, alternating. So, like Grenade, I appreciate that, man. He says that's what happens when your work shows you care. That's like I've said since day one. I want to be transparent and honest with you guys. Try to become informative because I myself was informed entering this. Like I don't just throw on the live stream, and that's probably why I don't do a ton of them, because I want to make sure I have 2 hours plus worth of talking time to go over. And if we don't get to it, I would rather leave some of the details out than be flustered and not sure, oh, for the last 20 minutes, we don't know what we're talking about here because I wasn't prepared. So I really appreciate that. And I'm glad that it at least shows in my lives. Indy, what are you talking? I'm the Antonio Cromartie of YouTube. No. We're not fans of kids. Kids with receipts. I'll be completely transparent. I love kids with receipts. If I can refund them back or return them back to their parents when there's a poopy diaper or something, or they start screaming, those are my favorite. Kids like me though. It's kind of funny. I like my nephews though. My nephews are fine. They're 2 and 9. They're just good. They're good kids. Let's see. J-Max, 99 Jet fan. Arvel Reese, number 2. Lemon or Sonny Styles at 16. Tai Simpson at 33. I don't know if there's a world where Tai Simpson makes it out of the first round. He got all those GMs when him and his dad talked to all those different GMs, apparently in that article. Nobody told him second round. I don't know how many GMs he talked to. I don't know what GMs of what teams. Do they need a quarterback? Do they have a quarterback already? Or were they just saying that because they think he's good, but they're pretty far? Like, did the Cincinnati Bengals give him a first round grade, even though they're never going to move off Joe Burrow? Like, that's what I'm talking about there. So I don't think Tai Simpson lasts to 33, but if he did, yeah, run the card up. You can make the pick the first night, right? Just keep going for an extra 10 minutes and take Tai Simpson that night. Save us the 24 hours of discourse to talk about who we take at 33, because it would be Tai Simpson in that case, 100%. Yes and no, Raven. Yes and no. Tank for Ty says, so DT and Joe Blewett are cool with taking Simpson 2 overall, but the chat still thinks he sucks. I didn't know Joe said that. So that's actually really cool. I think, again, Joe is somebody that when I'm done watching my film on a prospect, I look to see around the Jets community first. Do Joe and Robbie have a film review on this guy? And then I go back and I look at what they think of each prospect. And then I check my notes and I self-reflect and I say, hey, was I wrong here? Was I standing on business when I thought this trait was different than how they see it? But obviously these guys are way more in the weeds in terms of football, techniques and every little aspect of football. So yeah, if Joe's saying that, that's cool. I appreciate Joe for standing on business with Tai Simpson, because I feel like he's been on Tai Simpson since day one as his quarterback 1. So to hear that he would take him at 2, that's pretty cool. I think you're talking about Daquan Wright here, Indy. No, I have not done the work on the tight ends. I don't know who the tight ends are for Senior Bowl. I know there's a couple that I was really interested in. The guy from Houston, I think his name is actually Tanner, which I thought would be hilarious if they matched up Tanner Angstrand with Tanner. I think it's Koziel from Houston. He's one of the only tight ends I really did any information on or any like deep research on. But there's the Texas A&M guy at the Senior Bowl, Borkircher. I'm butchering all these names for sure. And then the Alabama kid, Cuevas. And I think Gillenborg was high on somebody's rankings when I saw him. I thought the name was funny, but then I actually saw him float around on Twitter. So there's a couple tight ends at Mobile that I'll look at, but I have not done any, deep analysis or thoughts on tight ends specifically. Oregon. Yeah. I mean, that's not the point. His dad is a coach and his dad is well connected in the college ranks. And I'm sure probably some NFL contacts too. And like these guys go to the advisory committee and they get their grades back. So I don't laugh at that process. Like Grenade says, you plan on reviewing some of the safeties. This class is pretty damn good if you got time before the draft for Halsey. Jalen Kilgore, yes. Kilgore, the Gamecock, I'm definitely familiar with. When they were mocking us to get Brandon Siss, the cornerback, I definitely was all over Jalen Kilgore. Looking at the roster for Senior Bowl, and again, this is something we're going to dive deeper into with Dom tonight, but AJ Halsey is at the Senior Bowl. Michael Taff from Texas is at the Senior Bowl. Kamari Ramsey is really special from USC. I'm really excited for him. Bud Clark from TCU, also a good name at safety. So there's a handful of guys. I believe the Penn State one, Zakee Wheatley, he's pretty good too. I'm excited to hear Dom's thoughts on the safety specifically, but yeah, we'll get into all those, I guess, tertiary positions after Mobile, because I really want to study up on. I did quarterbacks, I did wide receivers. Now I'm going to go do edge rushers. I'm going to do Bain, Reese, Bailey, Keldrick Falk, a couple other guys in like that second round range as well, because I want to hit the premium positions first and see what the Jets should do with those picks, because I'm an advocate premium positions at premium picks. So I want to do quarterbacks, wideouts, and edge rushers first. Luckily, we don't need offensive tackle, so I can completely skip that one. I will watch some corners, and I list corner as a premium position for sure. So we'll see. I will get to safeties though. I probably won't do a ton of running backs. I can probably guess that. Not that I think Brees is coming back for sure, but running backs are running backs. You fall in love with a guy and he goes in like the 7th round and you're like, what the hell? Doesn't make sense. He ran all over the field in college, but some things just don't translate for running backs and it's harder to watch on film. Yeah, Indy, Ramsey's a dog. Absolutely. Yeah, Kilgore is raw, but he's a stud. Gamecocks had a bad season last year. I'm really interested. I watched the cut-ups, and he kept popping out on me when I was trying to watch the corner. So I'm intrigued. Do I think height matters for the safety position? You can make the case, right? Kyle Hamilton with his range and his length and his ability to play, that helps you down in the box for sure. But I mean, you see length or like shorter guys, right? I feel like Antoine Winfield's not a big body safety, and I feel like he does a lot well at the safety position. So I would say no, it doesn't really matter. I feel like height matters the most to me. Obviously, wide receiver, depending on what you want out of a prospect at wideout. Corner, same thing for the same reasons, right? Do you want a Sauce or do you want like a DJ Reed, right? Those are like polar opposites. Running back, I don't think height matters. Offensive tackle, height matters. Interior lineman, height matters in a way like you don't want a 6'6" center, right? Like Joe Tippmann. I feel like that was really hard to not necessarily evaluate or get over for the Jets, but like when a guy's 6'6" in the middle, you can't have Trinidad Chamblas standing behind that. Like that's really hard to do. So you want your taller guys on the outside, I guess. So yeah, I guess it does have some bit of an impact, but with quarterback specifically, it obviously has the most. Like I don't grade other prospects on like size unless it's edge rusher. That would probably be the only one. Jadarian Price, that's who you're talking about, the Notre Dame running back too. Yeah, I'm interested in him. I think you don't touch a running back with any of your picks until day 3. I'm a firm believer in that. That's just my team building philosophy. I don't want running backs picked really highly. We know obviously Brees was, pick 35. So like it's kind of the polar opposite of what I would do from the philosophical standpoint. But we also almost drafted Jahmyr Gibbs at 15. So teams think completely differently than me than running at the running back position, but just keep loading up with day 3 prospects and a guy is bound to pop for you. Like outside of Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers have a bunch of like mid to late round guys and UDFAs and they make it all work. It's because of the blocking up front and the scheme puts them in a position to win. Yeah, Indy, 6'6" snap, center snaps seem to go high. And also, just speaking about Joe Tippmann, he had double labrum surgery, one on each shoulder. So like getting into that position to try to snap every time isn't always great. And I mean, Josh Myers had his warts down the stretch of the season, but I was definitely weary of the 6'6" center. Loved him at guard though, for sure. Boss girl, do you think D'Angelo Pond's corner from Indy is AG 2.0 in terms of just like ball skills, size? Sure. I guess you could make the case. I wasn't around for AG as a player, right? I was born in 95. I think he left the Jets in 98 or 99. And then he was out of the league by 2005. So he was like very, very early on of my life as a player. But yeah, I guess from a size perspective, that kind of works. J-Max says, Jets are in the same spot as the Giants were last year when they take Abdul Carter and traded up for Dart. Except Jets have 16. Yes, so you could totally take Ruben Bain at number 2 overall, and then can you take 44 and 16 and trade that up and see how high you can get to take Tai Simpson, right? Can you take 16 and 44? Can you get back into the top 10 and jump a team that might want him? Interesting. I'm not sure if I would do it if I'm the Jets, but you really have to consider it. The number 16 pick is worth 305 points, on the Rich Hill trading system. So 305 points plus the 44th pick is 135 points. So you're looking at 440 points. The Cleveland Browns' 6th overall pick is worth 440 points. So it would probably take 16 and a third round pick, which the Jets obviously do not have. But in terms of value, to get back into just the top 10, they can almost get to the top 5 if they wanted to, based on the value of these picks. Obviously, what you're coming up for and what the team is trying to get from you are different, but it is interesting to see how high they can get in terms of point value with all of their draft capital, because they do have the most, I guess it's called draft power, when you look at the picks to points on the grading scales. So if they could trade, they take Bain at 2, they trade all the way up with the Cleveland Browns at 6. We do it the inverse of what I was just saying. You drum up the interest on Tai Simpson to get them to come up, but you trade up with them. I mean, it's worth it. If you think Tai Simpson is the top half of the league passer in his rookie contract, you absolutely do it. You take your quarterback, no questions asked. 185 of you in the room. I certainly appreciate everybody for tuning in. We're almost at the hour mark. Probably going to stay on for another 15, 20-ish minutes and answer more of your questions, but hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. We're on the way to 1,400. Giveaway to be announced as we approach 2,000. I definitely want to give back to this community. You guys are amazing. Yeah, I don't want to trade up with 33, Bill M. I want to hold that in case somebody asks to trade up with us. That's the big thing for me, is I would rather not move off 33, because if one person loves a prospect that made it out of round 1, like hypothetically, like Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon, a lot of, speculation on should a tight end go in the first round. Obviously, Sadiq has that value. If he made it to the second day, teams will be calling for a Kenyon Sadiq type talent at 33. So I would hold off on trading 33 as long as possible. And if you could deal it on draft day, that would be more ideal for me. Indy, hit the damn like button. Absolutely. Hit the like button, guys. I really appreciate it. I told you guys, I promised you guys at least one live show with call-ins between now and the draft. That's coming. We will announce that shortly. It'll definitely be after Mobile. I'll let you guys know. So it'll be in the month of February. Dixon Yas, yes, I can see your comments. I don't know why people don't want to take a safety at 2. If Downs is that good of a player, who cares where he's taken if he is elite, as they say he is? Yeah, I'm cool with Downs. I'm not cool with Jeremiah Love, though, at 2. Like I said, I don't want to take a running back early. I would much rather take Tai Simpson than Jeremiah Love, and I understand that they are different, right? The talent level is different. Jeremiah Love is a more talented player, but you can't sell me on a running back at 2 as opposed to the opportunity of getting your franchise quarterback at that same pick. That's the only reason I would trade it up and hold on to it, Indy, is if they know for sure, like, I want a guy with a 5th-year option. 100% agree with this, which is why I'm holding it until draft weekend, right? We'll get down to Pittsburgh and then deal that pick. Whereas if they could trade up before the draft, maybe they use 44 and 16 or a combination of one of those. So I agree with you here. The Chiefs don't need any love, to be honest. Like they need more hate, if we're being completely honest. Like, I'm so tired of the Chiefs. Oh, you're talking about Jeremiah. Yeah, no, for sure. Chiefs would definitely do well with Jeremiah Love. They passed up on Breece Hall, and I think Jeremiah Love would fit in well and make everybody hate the Chiefs just as much, if not more, than they already do. As Jets Johnny says, F the Chiefs. Yeah, I knew what you were saying, Dixon. I wanted to make a joke. I don't know if it was even funny or not, but that's where we are. Yeah, Bill got the joke. I'm glad. Ryu Ken says, we have Aaron Glenn, bro. Just trust him, bro. Don't need Shanahan. Yeah, bro. Don't need him. We got rid of the closest thing we would probably ever have to Kyle Shanahan in 2023. I am a Mike LaFleur truther till the day I die. That man is going to be an OC and a head coach and do good things just like his brother. Totally down. And we have Aaron Glenn. You're 100% right. We do. Hold the rope. Hope on a rope. Yes, boss girl, you can sign a proven young safety in free agency for a lot less than you'd be paying a safety taken at 2. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I can't deny Caleb Downs' talents, but also, yeah, the team building part of that makes it hard to digest. Oscar, I appreciate you, man. He says, thanks for the breakdown. Thank you for tuning into the breakdown. There will be more once I get through some of the positions. Like I'll do the wide receivers probably at some point as I'm doing the edge rushers on film. It's funny. I'm like talking about wide receivers as I'm watching edge rushers, and I'm also watching wide receivers as I'm talking about the quarterbacks. So my watching is one step ahead, but my reporting is one step behind. So I appreciate everybody anyway. Would I trade number 33 for a 1 next year? Yes, 100%. Give me 4 first-round picks next year. Arch, you can't escape. Julian saying you can't escape. Dante Moore, you cannot escape. We have 4 picks. We will do whatever we need to get to the quarterback in 2027. I am 100% down with that. I don't even care if it's a projected late 1. Like you said, if it's a good team. I don't care. It's a 1. Give me 4 first-round picks. We have 3, and we have 3 teams that we can really hate watch. I mean, if some people will hate watch the Jets for the draft pick purposes. I will not, but the other 3 I certainly will. So if you can add another team to that mix of teams that, as the worse they do, the better the Jets pick is, I'm down. They've been in contract talks for a while. They have a new president, Ed Policy, and the thing with it is, do they want to extend Brian Gutekunst first, their general manager, before they extend Matt LaFleur? That's the whole issue. Matt LaFleur, man, he's worth it. I know that they don't want to do things like they don't want to put the cart before the horse and extend him before the GM, but he does like that power structure of like the GM over the head coach as opposed to like equal footing. It's what it seems like out of Green Bay. But they're also going to lose their defensive coordinator. So do you want to do a head coaching search and you're already late to the table? I know only one job has opened up, and I don't think John Harbaugh would have taken the Packers job necessarily, but it's tough. The Packers would be the most attractive destination if they fired LaFleur wholeheartedly. They're like over the Giants, over the Ravens, over anybody, the Falcons, the Titans. And Matt LaFleur would be the number 1 head coaching candidate over John Harbaugh. Like if I was the Giants and Matt LaFleur became available the day after I signed John Harbaugh, I'd be pissed. I would actually be really mad at that. And I would totally go try to get a Matt LaFleur over John Harbaugh. So I don't think the Packers should move on. I feel like that's really stupid of them. Ryu, yeah, I believed in Mike. He was going ham with Mike White. He really was. Zach Wilson is the ruiner of Mike LaFleur. Woody Johnson forced the issue, and I absolutely hate him for it. Luckily, Sean Payton didn't have to play him enough to make him look bad, though. Yeah, that's true, big fella. They were teammates. There is some crossover. I like Malachi more. That'd be cool. Jets Johnny doesn't want anything to do with Julian saying good quarterback play eludes you, Jets Johnny. That's okay. The idea of the Jets doing the evil laugh as 2027 quarterbacks shudder in fear. Yeah, we're that drawing. It's like at the window, and it's like sickos. Yeah, that's Jets fans right now holding all of their first round picks. 100%. Yeah, this is a good point. Dre Bly is the uncle of Caleb Downs. 100%. Makes you wonder. I don't think anybody said LaFleur would come here. Boss girl. I did not say that. Just Johnny, he holds the rock forever. He does to a degree, but I don't know, man. I think Julian Saint's fine. I think he's just fine. He's not as good as Arch Manning is right now, but he'll be just fine. I'm really excited for Ohio State's offense this year. Welcome to something. Just joined late. Miss DT. You lean in Bane or Reese? I would lean Bane. I would lean Bane over Reese. Got to do the tape study. I'm just gonna start it probably this weekend. We're gonna start with Bane, then we'll do Bailey, then Reese, then Keldrick Falk. Try to get the top 4, and then we'll compare and contrast them like we just did with Chambliss and Tai Simpson. J-Max, you're gonna be the Colts quarterback. Yeah, let's hope it's Zach Wilson. That'd be great. Need them to tank. Yeah, I don't know who their quarterback's going to be. It's not going to be Daniel Jones, obviously. So we'll see what happens. Maybe Anthony Richardson is healthy. Maybe he doesn't take a exercise band to the eye. I don't know, man. That's just a crazy injury for Anthony Richardson. Yeah, Oscar, he throws a beautiful pass. I really do like saying a lot. Danger Zone, great question. Where would you rank these two in the 2024 quarterback class as prospects only, not pro tape? So yeah, I would put Chambliss in the same range as Jalen Milroe, right? I think Jalen Milroe for me got a 79 grade, so a half a point better than Chambliss. And 83 for Tai Simpson is 1 point lower than I had Jackson Dart, but I also had, and I don't know if I'm wrong or right on this one, I also had Will Howard as an 84. I really loved Will Howard last year. So Howard and Dart got 84s for me, and Simpson is an 83. So right in that range of those two guys. But that's a great question. And then Chambliss, yeah, Milroe was half a point higher. So none of them come close to Cam Ward. I had Shedeur Sanders as a late first-round talent. He got a perfect 85 for me. So he was a first-round talent, in my opinion. Oh, 2024, Dana. I'm sorry. Not as high. Not as high as any of the 2024 guys until you get into the Bo Nix area. I was not a huge Bo Nix guy who went at 12. I also wasn't a big Michael Penix guy either. So I would say Tai Simpson would have been ahead of those two. And then Chambliss wouldn't even have been ahead of those two. Sorry for the confusion, Dana. I can't believe we're already 2 years removed from that draft class. It goes quick when you stare at these names all draft process, and then like a week and a half after the draft, you're supposed to just upload new names into your brain. It's so hard to go back and recall what class was exactly that. Like if you say the 2022 year, I'm like, okay, you got to tell me who some of the draft picks were, and then we can discuss, because I can't remember looking at all the listed names. But that's a great question, Dano. Thanks. J-Max, Reese, and JFM. I love every mock off season Jets content creators do that has us getting back JFM. I absolutely love it. Like I will never say no. JFM was a great guy. Like Grenade, I'm kind of with you here about Julian saying I don't want to go on because I've only really watched a little bit of his tape, but watching him live, I feel like on TV he just does such a good job, and maybe that's like the Ohio State part of it where it's like he's got good talent all around him, and there's easy answers everywhere. But I don't know, there's things to like about him, and he'll probably start the way too early mocks, maybe as pick 2, right? Arch Manning will be pick 1, and then maybe Julian Sayin at pick 2. I can see it. That doesn't mean anything. The way too early mock drafts means absolutely nothing. Yeah, Dano, we don't talk about those draft classes. I guess that's the only way that I know from a Jets perspective. I have to start at Mekhi Becton was the COVID 2020 season. Because then I know, then I can go, okay, Zach was 21. The big class was 22. Will was 23 when we got Rodgers. Olu, 24. 25 was Membu, right? See, now I'm already, you got me, Dano. 6 years is hard to remember that far back. And I don't ever want to think about the 2021 class ever again. Oscar, are there any smaller school quarterbacks that have started to catch my attention? I am so intrigued by the list of names at the Senior Bowl, honestly. Luke Altmaier, Cole Payton, I don't really care about Diego Pavia, and then Sawyer Robinson. Those are the three that I'm going to be watching a lot over the week at Senior Bowl. How I normally break it up is first day I watch quarterbacks, last day I watch quarterbacks. So Tuesday, Thursday, I'll watch quarterback play. That way you can see what they look like the first day when they're just getting all the coaching points thrown at them on the field in real time. A lot of them can't even handle the snaps under center. It's actually hilarious. The first day is always pretty rough for the quarterbacks. And then by the third day, you see what the coaching is. They go back into the meeting rooms, the film rooms, post practice, and you really see how they build off of the week of coaching points. So I watch them on the first and last days. I would say Luke Altmaier would probably be the one right now that intrigues me the most. I don't know if Illinois is like a smaller school, but yeah. And then Cole Payton is North Dakota State, and Sawyer Robinson is Baylor, I believe. So those are the three on my radar. There's not a great crop of quarterbacks at Senior Bowl this year. Diego Pavia might be the most known quarterback. I don't care to know him. I don't care to watch the film. I'm BJF with Peter Woods. I don't need to see the film. I just know not to take him. That's really what it comes down to. Indy, if the Jets draft the clown Pavia, I'll sell all my shit and start watching the WNBA. Get ready to learn Lisa Leslie. I don't know any WNBA player's name. That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. I can't even think of one name. Is Asia Wilson in the WNBA still? Get ready to learn Asia Wilson. Oh, I could have just used Angel Reese. She's a cop-out, or Caitlin Clark. I guess those are cop-out answers, but get ready to learn those, Indy. No, they're not drafting Pavia. If they drafted Pavia, I would be so mad, truthfully. One of the worst burn, wasted picks you could ever have if you're the Jets. That's Bryce Petty mixed with Christian Hackenberg, with the circus of Shedeur Sanders to boot. Like, it'd be Shedeur Sanders, but like ass quarterback play. That's like the media circus around him. His whatever, his entourage, we'll call it, like corny as all hell. So no, yeah, I'm out on Pavia for sure. Dixon, McDonald over JSN, man. They have a chance. You don't pass on Tristan Wirfs twice, you take Armand Membu. You do not pass on JSN twice, you draft Makai Lemon. That's all I'm gonna say. Darren Muji, brother Darren, do the thing. Do the thing. Don't take anybody else over who could be JSN again. Golly. All right, hour and 12 mark, 188 of you in the room. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. I will be back in 5 short hours with Dom C discussing all things Senior Bowl as we get ready to head down to Mobile, really, Cardinal direction still. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe if you're new. Check out Believe in Jets, the audio-only podcast, where you can get most of these videos in an audio-only format so you can take it on the go much easier. Give me a 5-star rating and review over there. I certainly appreciate that, and it would go a long way to support the channel. And I'll see you guys at 8 p.m. with Dom. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Go Jets.